Welcome back to another episode of the Science of Winning podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about why leadership capabilities isn't your biggest problem. It's actually their capacity. And let me break this down very simply. People can get trained on leadership. And this is the number one training that typically happens for people within organizations outside of their technical training. It's leadership training, how to be a better leader. That's not the problem, because you can train someone on being a better leader, but they may not have the capacity to enact those skills. And that's what I'm going to break down in this episode here today. So for most people, for most organizations, the problem is not the competency. The problem is not the skills or the abilities of a person to be a better leader. It's their capacity to. And here's the difference. So competency is those technical skills. It is the ability for someone to communicate effectively, to have awareness of when to say what, to look out for other people's signs, for example. We're talking a lot about soft skills here when it comes to leadership, okay? And there are some really great leaders out there, or people that have leadership training or skills. So they have the skills, but they don't always live out to those skills. They're not actually living those skills on a daily basis. And here's why: because they don't have the capacity. And capacity is a factor of a number of different things. Okay. It could be mindset. This person shows up and they're just not in the optimal mindset. Now, mindset is part of state management. Okay. So it's part of how you train someone to be in an optimal state more often and more consistently. And mindset is a component of that. So let's just say they're just having a bad day. Well, if someone is having a bad day, how likely are they to be the best leader that they can be? It's actually not very likely. And this is what we've identified. And this is what we've seen through our research, is that leadership training is great. Leadership competency and capabilities are great, but they have to have the capacity. Okay, so this is so critical, so important for you to understand. So mindset is one of those things. State management is part of capacity. Time is a part of capacity. Here's a practical example. You train your leaders on how to coach individuals, but they're not coaching individuals because they don't have the time. Okay, they're running around trying to keep the lights on and the doors open and put out fires. They just don't have the time. Time is part of capacity. Okay, another part could be confidence. Confidence is a part of capacity. Again, someone can have the skills, but they may not have the confidence to enact those skills. Another element is motivation. Okay, so someone has training on leadership, but they may not be motivated to train or to help someone else on their team be the best versions of themselves, which is a core part of being a leader. Because, again, they might be just not super motivated. They're down and out in their life. Something isn't going right. They felt like they haven't gotten the promotion that they needed. Whatever it may be, they just don't have that motivation or drive. And there's a number of other factors that come along with motivation. In fact, there's 10 that we've identified, and there's not enough time on this episode, but I'll do one specifically on them, where you can actually identify what actually leads. These are all levers to a person's motivation level. And if an individual doesn't understand how to motivate themselves, it's very difficult for you to try to get one of your leaders to be motivated to lead someone else. Okay? I've had this happen all the time. People coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you get our leaders to be motivated to lead someone else?" Yes, I can, but it's not going to be through a motivational talk. It's going to be through them understanding what motivates them. Because once they're able to motivate themselves, they can actually become better leaders. The other part might just be, well, there's something happening in their life. They're just going through a bad time. Maybe it's a life stage, maybe it's a challenge, maybe something happening in with their health. So, as I mentioned before, if someone just shows up and they're just not in a good state, something is happening in their personal life, well, that impacts their ability to be a good leader. Okay, and we're seeing more and more of this today. I cannot stress this enough. This is why I'm so excited, because I think those organizations that really pay attention to this are going to kick butt. They're the ones that are going to take the lead, because everybody else is just sitting there scratching their head saying, "Oh, we have EAP programs, we have wellness programs, we're doing all these kinds of things, we're doing leadership training, but our people are still not being better leaders." What's the problem here? The problem is capacity. So if you focus on this, you're going to be ahead of the game. and capacity, again, there's other things that are impacting people's lives. I talk about this a lot. I call it the perfect storm. We have things like technology. We know that smartphones dramatically impacted people's mental health. Social media. We got the challenges in the politics and infighting in politics, and people just easily triggered on social media. And the sheer amount of negativity on social media, that brings a person down. So all of these things are challenging leaders. Another one is distractions. And if I can tell you, if you can boost a person's performance and productivity by at least double by helping them remove distractions out of their lives, you can actually help them improve the quality of their life if you help them remove distractions out of their lives. And distractions are one of those things that reduces a leader's ability to be a good, or I should say, leader's capacity to be a good leader. Okay, not the ability, we're talking about capacity here. Okay, so distractions reduce capacity. All of these things are part of training. Okay, each one of these elements, whether it's mindset, time, confidence, motivation, just getting their personal life in order, all of this is part of training. And if a person is not trained to improve their capacity, then what you are doing is you're training technical skills, but they don't have the capacity to use it. Okay, so it's like having a Ferrari parked in your garage, but no gas in the Ferrari. Okay, how fun is that? And that's what we're seeing with leaders here today. I want to leave on an optimistic note here, because this is extremely powerful for you as leaders. If you take this to heart, if you actually focus on this, you will have a competitive advantage. You will create an environment and a culture where leaders thrive, where leaders actually want to lead because they have the capacity, not just the capabilities and the competency. So please focus on this and see and watch what happens to your leaders and your organization, not only from a performance standpoint, but also their overall quality of life.